Have you ever noticed how, for some people, life just flows? They don't seem to try so hard, but opportunities appear, doors open, businesses thrive. Meanwhile, others dedicate themselves to the limit of exhaustion, study, work, plan, fight. And yet it seems that they are always chasing the wind. It's like watching two parallel scenes, one of lightness, the other of weight. And the question that remains is, what makes this difference? The answer lies in an ancient principle, passed down from generation to generation in the Jewish tradition. A secret that few know, but which completely changes the way abundance manifests itself in someone's life. Because, contrary to what many people believe, true prosperity is not the result of brute force. It is not earned through blind effort, anxiety, or resistance. In Judaism, there is an occult code that teaches true wealth, that which is maintained and grows in a healthy way, is born of an invisible alignment, a perfect fit between right action and high purpose. It's not about doing more. It's about doing it at the right time, in the right way, with the right intention. And that's what we're going to talk about today, about what the Jewish sages called intelligent Hishtadlut, weightless effort. The movement that generates results not because it is impulsive, but because it is connected to something bigger. You will realize that it is not about abandoning the effort, but about transforming it into something much lighter, more fluid, and above all, effective. Today I'm going to guide you inside this code. Let's together open inner doors that you may not even know were closed, and understand how to completely change the relationship between you and abundance. Because attracting prosperity doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a dance. Those who walk in this understanding no longer look at the world in the same way. You begin to recognize the subtle codes that govern the true flow of life, and you understand that thriving is a movement from the inside out. To belong to this knowledge is to be part of a lineage that has chosen wisdom over haste, awareness over anxiety. This space here is exactly for that, for those who no longer accept to fight blindly, for those who want to build wealth with purpose, the way the Jewish tradition has taught for millennia. So it's also part of this journey. Subscribe to the channel and let each new teaching further strengthen your journey towards conscious abundance. At the heart of Jewish wisdom is a principle that few know in depth, but which is capable of radically changing the way you deal with effort and prosperity. Hishtadlut. Simply translated, Hishtadlut is effort, but in spiritual practice it means something much deeper. It is the aligned effort, the right movement, the action with awareness, without anxiety, without despair, without the weight of one who feels that he carries the world on his back. Think for a moment. How many times have you found yourself running, trying hard, giving it your all, and yet it seemed like nothing happened, like pushing a door that was already open, but you, without realizing it, used all your strength, fighting against what should be simple. This is one of the most powerful images to understand what happens when we act disconnected. The energy is wasted, the soul tires, and the result is further away. In Judaism, effort is indeed sacred, but he has a measure. It is part of the pact that the human being makes with the divine. You move one step towards the blessing, and the blessing moves many steps towards you. However, this movement needs to be without hysteria, because when the effort comes laden with despair, it sends the universe a silent message of distrust, as if, deep down, you don't believe that abundance is available to you. The concept of Hishtadlut teaches that our mission is to do what we can, with wisdom, with excellence, with intention, and then let go. Trust. Make room for the invisible to work in our favor. There is no blessing that flourishes in anxiety. There is no prosperity that remains in fear. The great sages of the Torah knew this. Therefore, many times before making an important decision, they would take what we would now call a strategic pause, a moment of silence, of internal listening to feel, is this action I am about to do born of trust or despair? If it was desperation, they would stop, because they knew that nothing solid is born from the rush. Look at nature. No tree forces its roots to grow. No river struggles to flow towards the sea. There is an internal rhythm, an invisible pulse, that guides the growth of everything. And the human being, when he reconnects to this wisdom, begins to live in the same rhythm. Hishtadlut is like planting a seed. You prepare the land, you put the seed, you water it carefully. But after that, you don't pull the plant out of the ground expecting it to grow faster. You trust the hidden process. You understand that there is a part that is not in your hands, and it is precisely in this space that miracles happen. Now bring this to your financial reality. How many times does the fear of missing make you act impulsively? How many times does the anxiety for quick results make you make wrong, forced decisions, which then generate frustration? That's the weight of disconnected effort. And that's exactly what the Jewish code teaches you to set free. When you act at the right time, in the right way, with the right spirit, life begins to conspire in your favor. You send a message to the universe that says, I do my part in faith and leave the rest in the hands of the Creator. This posture is magnetic. It attracts opportunities, synchrony, open doors, not by magic, but by alignment. And make no mistake, this is not about passivity, quite the opposite. It is true action, but without the tension of those who believe that everything depends only on their strength. It is effort with lightness. It's movement with soul. Every choice, every little act done with Hishtadlut becomes a seed planted in fertile soil. And as tradition teaches, blessing rests where there is effort with kavana, pure intention and surrendered heart. So, now that you understand the root of this principle, the next step is to learn how to bring this intelligent effort into your daily life, into your business, into your projects, into your money. Because it is not enough to know the theory. It is necessary to live the code on a daily basis. And when you start living like this, something changes forever. You don't just conquer more, you achieve better, with less wear and tear, with more meaning, with more purpose. There is a set of silent forces that, when activated, change the quality of what comes to you. These are internal movements that cannot be seen from the outside, but that shape the reality of those who prosper with lightness. And that's what we're going to start unlocking now. The true construction of prosperity does not happen in the noise, but in the silent movements that are born within. Most believe that wealth comes only from external action, running, doing, accumulating. But the Torah masters have always taught that there are three invisible forces, three inner levers that, when activated correctly, open doors that physical effort could never force. And it is these three forces that we are going to unlock now. The first of these is called kavana, pure intention. In Judaism, acting unintentionally is like building a house on sand. Sooner or later it collapses. Kavana is the power to align mind, word, and heart before any movement. Imagine someone who plants a tree. If he plants thinking only about what will win quickly, the tree grows weak. But those who plant with the intention of feeding generations, of creating shade, of being part of the life around them, that plant in another way. So it is with money, with opportunities, with abundance. When the intention is pure, aligned with something greater than the ego, the action becomes an extension of the soul and not just an automatic reaction. A simple practice to activate kavana is before every major action, whether it's sending a proposal, signing a contract, or starting a project, to stop for a few seconds, close your eyes, and make a brief silent statement. May this act be for the greater good, to bring light, growth, and peace. Element, it sounds small, but this pause of consciousness recalibrates the surrounding field and activates forces that act beyond what the eye can see. The second lever is tzimtzum, creative self-restraint. One of the greatest secrets of the Torah is that not every space should be occupied. Not every opportunity should be seized. Not every answer should be given. Tzimtzum is the art of acting wisely and, above all, knowing when to stop. It is like a gardener who knows that, for the tree to grow strong, he needs to prune it at strategic moments, removing excess branches that steal energy from the main trunk. In the financial universe, this translates into not acting out of impulsiveness, not filling your life with commitments that you cannot sustain with soul, leaving empty spaces for abundance to flow. A powerful micro-practice of tzimtzum is to review your schedule or priorities every week and consciously remove what no longer serves your real purpose. Leaving space is often the most productive move you can make. And then we come to the third lever, Bitachon, sacred trust. Bitachon is the antidote to despair and anxiety. It is the awareness that, after planting with intention and acting wisely, There is a moment when the rest no longer depends on human effort, but on the opening of the heavens. Trust is not passivity. It is an internal action that holds the heart steady, while the invisible works in favor. Jewish sages teach that trusting is as powerful as acting, because fear closes the doors that faith could open. A practical exercise by Bitachon is to create a short anchoring phrase to repeat in moments when anxiety tries to dominate. Something like, "I did my part. The rest is taken care of by something greater." Element. This simple act of trust realigns your field, releases energetic blockages, and keeps your mind and heart open to receive. Each of these three levers, Kavana, Tzimtzum, and Bitachon, acts in a complementary way. It is like three gears that, when they move together, transform intentions into realities, seeds into fruits, desires into concrete manifestations. When these three invisible forces are aligned, life begins to enter another rhythm. You stop forcing to start flowing. It doesn't mean the absence of challenges, but it does mean that challenges are no longer walls and become steps. With every little choice you make with intention, Kavana, with every space you voluntarily create for the new, Tzimtzum, and every time you let go of control with confidence, Bitachon, you tune into the field of true abundance. And so that this is not just a concept, I want to guide you through a small exercise that integrates the three levers. Choose a small financial or growth goal that you want to manifest in the next 30 days. Something simple, but meaningful. First, sit quietly and declare your kavana. Verbalize to yourself what the lofty purpose behind that goal is. Then, identify an excess in your life that is blocking this intention and practice tzimtzum. Cut or diminish something, creating real space for this goal to breathe. Lastly, cultivate Bitachon daily, repeating a small affirmation of conscious faith every morning when you wake up. This simple practice, when done with truth, begins to reprogram the field around you. It is important to remember, the invisible effort is more powerful than 1,000 noisy actions. You may not even notice explosive changes at first, but a new reality is already being gestated, like a seed that silently breaks through the earth before it blooms. And maybe you're wondering, but how will I know that I'm activating these three forces in the right way? The answer comes in the small signs. You will begin to notice more lightness in your actions. The right opportunities will find you instead of you chasing after them. People, ideas, and movements will fit together with an almost magical fluidity. And most importantly, your inner peace will become the biggest sign that you are on the path. This is the difference between an effort that exhausts and an effort that expands. The financial life that truly thrives is not born from excess movement, but from the harmony between pure intention, conscious action, and true surrender. So, before any grandiose plan, before you look for the next miracle formula or the next successful strategy, go back inside. Remember these three forces that the sages cultivated for centuries. Because what sustains true prosperity is not just what you do in the visible world, it's what you move in the invisible. Now, to further anchor this transformation, leave here in the comments the phrase, "I act with intention and trust in the time of abundance." This simple statement is like an energetic signature in your growth process, a first step toward materializing what, until now, has only been dormant within you. And stay tuned, because the next part of this journey will reveal the detail that many overlook: how to use these three levers together within a weekly cycle to activate, maintain, and expand prosperity on an ongoing basis. What comes ahead is the living practice of abundance in motion. Imagine that in a small village there was a man named Eliav, known for his unwavering serenity. While many embarked on exhausting journeys to gain wealth, Eliav seemed to live in another time. He didn't run, he didn't anguish, and yet his life flourished with opportunities, connections, and prosperity. It wasn't luck, not by chance. It was the silent domain of the flow. Eliav understood something that few saw. Real prosperity does not respond to screaming, despair, or blind race. In the heart of Jewish wisdom, he had learned that abundance is a natural consequence of inner alignment. It's like the cycle of a tree. You plant with awareness, you water with discipline, you trust the process, and one day, without warning, the fruits just appear. His story echoes a principle that the masters have always repeated. The blessing does not cry out. She whispers to those who know how to listen. And listening, in the context of true prosperity, is realizing when to act accurately and when to just keep the space open to receive. When you activate the three invisible levers, Kavana, Tzimtzum, and Bitachon, what happens is not a loud explosion of success. It is a silent reorganization. Your mind is cleared, your actions become more accurate, your words gain weight, and your choices start to attract what is compatible with your new vibrational field. In this state, doors open naturally, not because you broke in, but because you have become someone who holds the key. True abundance comes without you having to struggle. It finds who is positioned, and to position oneself in the gaze of the Torah is to align one's intention, Kavana, to act consciously, Tzimtzum, and to trust in the force that governs the right time, Bitachon. Anxiety, in this way, is seen as the greatest thief of blessings, not because it prevents God from acting, but because it disconnects you from your best energy. An anxious field is like a troubled land. It cannot receive the seed. It does not sustain growth. Eliav, in his most difficult days, also felt fear, doubt, haste. But he learned to breathe in the middle of the process, to take small steps full of intention and then let go. And with each release, the invisible worked in his favor. So he would tell everyone who asked what his secret was, "I act, but I let abundance choose its own time to find me." When we understand this flow, everything changes. You no longer feel like someone knocking on the wrong door or fighting an invisible tide. You become part of the natural cycle that governs abundance in the universe. Eliav knew that nature teaches. No tree forces the time of harvest. No flower opens before its time. What exists is silent preparation. Roots that deepen without fanfare. Branches that grow 1 millimeter at a time. And one day, the fruit. Not by blind effort, but by inner maturity. In Judaism, this maturity is called emunah, a practical, living faith that acts without anxiety and waits without passivity. Eliav, by aligning his intention, kavanah, restraining his impulses, tzimtzum, and trusting, bitachon, became fertile soil. And where there is fertile soil, abundance has no choice but to flourish. This is not the noisiest path, it is the most effective. Because those who plant in silence reap fruits that noise cannot steal. And when opportunities began to arrive, unexpected invitations, business that flowed lightly, ideas that turned into accomplishments, Eliav just smiled. He knew he was only reaping what he had sown in faith and conscience. This is the secret that the Jewish tradition has kept for millennia. True prosperity is that which is built in partnership with the invisible cycles of life, not in the war against them. The effort required is that of patience, active faith, conscious action. Weight is not mandatory. Lightness, yes. And perhaps this is the most profound change that this code brings. You stop measuring your journey by immediate results and start measuring by the inner strength that builds the road to them. Because in the end, thriving isn't just about earning more. It's about becoming someone who holds the blessing when it comes. After Eliav learned to navigate the flow of abundance without anxiety, he realized he needed something that would keep him tuned in daily. Because the world shakes, the outside voices scream, and without an internal anchor point, even the most fertile soil can dry out. It was there that he met the power of the small daily ritual, a practice so simple that, for many, it could seem insignificant. But for those who understand the codes of Jewish wisdom, they know that it is precisely what seems small that moves the foundations of the invisible. The ritual begins with a short blessing, a direct and conscious connection with the source, not a prayer asking for something, but an affirmation of presence. Eliav would close his eyes, take a deep breath, and say, "May my sustenance come lightly, and may my hands be instruments of light today." That's all, without pleading, no anxiety, just aligning with the field of abundance. Then he moved on to the second part, minimal action. In Judaism, this is called Hishtadlut, the aligned effort, not the desperate effort. Eliav chose a conscious attitude for that day, something small but real. Sometimes it was sending an important message, Other times it was organizing your work environment to receive new opportunities. It didn't matter how big the action was. What mattered was the intention put into it. And finally, the most difficult, creating a space of silence. End the ritual with a moment of total surrender, without demanding that the blessing take place there, at that time, without wanting to control the fruits. Just an internal space that said, I did my part. The rest belongs to the flow. This 3-minute ritual became the invisible thread that sewed Eliav's every day toward prosperity. It wasn't about doing much. It was about doing it consciously. It was about anchoring, daily, the certainty that the abundance he sought was also seeking for him. And every day that he repeated this practice, even on difficult days, even on silent days, was like watering a root that grew in the unseen. At times, it seemed like nothing was happening. But at the right time, the fruits appeared, almost like magic but fully rooted in the invisible work he had built. As the months passed, Eliav began to realize something subtle but powerful. His relationship with time changed. Before, every day was a desperate race to achieve goals, hit deadlines, solve pending issues. Now each morning was a reconsecration of his path, and even on days when nothing great seemed to happen, he knew he was moving forward, because he was aligned. This is the essence of the daily ritual that many Jewish sages practice silently, generation after generation. It's not about fighting against what hasn't arrived yet. It's about becoming, every day, a space capable of receiving what is already on the way. In the first minute, you recognize source. In the second, you plant a seed. In the third, you hand over the field. 3 movements that echo 3 ancestral principles: consciousness, action, and trust. And that transforms everything. Because you stop living as someone who pursues life and start living as someone who builds his own road. The blessing that once seemed distant begins to find ways to arrive. Opportunities that seemed blocked begin to open up effortlessly. And, more importantly, you start to carry peace in the process. Many seek abundance as if chasing a wind. Few understand that it is attracted by resonance, not by force. And each little ritual, repeated with awareness, is like tuning your inner instrument to play the music of true prosperity. Eliav was not a perfect man. It didn't even have to be. What made the difference was not the absence of mistakes, but the presence of constancy. Every day, without expecting greatness, he simply connected, grew, delivered, and little by little, without fanfare, without rushing, the invisible became visible. It is this silent construction that, at the right time, explodes in miracles. True transformation happens in silence, away from comparisons and despair. It is born in that instant when you choose to trust that you already carry within you everything you need to live fully. Abundance is not an external force that you need to conquer, like someone who fights a war. Abundance is an ancient promise, planted within your soul from the beginning, waiting only for you to align to embrace it. Every practice, every word you've absorbed so far hasn't been an extra effort. It was a thread sewn into your consciousness, enlarging the inner space to receive what is already rightfully yours. And even if the outside world insists on screaming that it is necessary to run, inside the ancient wisdom echoes differently. It is not about chasing, it is about walking alongside the promise. And walking side by side with that purpose is what makes you part of something bigger. A community that understands that prosperity is not built in haste. It is cultivated in intention, in silence, in daily practice, in faith in movement. He lets this transformation echo even stronger. He writes in the comments the phrase, "I align myself with abundance." When you register your intention, you don't just think, you create. Each word written is a conscious step toward the flow that has already begun to open up for you. This space that we build together is for those who have chosen to prosper with wisdom and not with despair. Each teaching that passes through here is a seed planted in fertile soil, so confirm your presence in this movement. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and strengthen this journey that respects time, soul, and true prosperity. And what comes now is even deeper. Because opening doors is important, but keeping those doors open is the real secret of the wise. In the next video, you'll discover the ancient practice that not only attracts abundance, but makes it stay, grow, and multiply. naturally, without weight, without unnecessary struggle. Click on the video that is appearing here. The next step is already waiting for you to further elevate your path of growth and transformation. I'll meet you there.